Geordie, halfway through the season, felt like it was a good time to sit down, have a look back at not only this year, but your tenure, so to speak, if you will, from interim into head coach into incoming Director of Rugby. Tell me a little bit about this year so far. You've won 4, drawn 1 in the Premiership. Pass or fail at this point?
It's a very difficult question. I think overall it's a fail. We've lost some games that we should have won. We've come away without points when we should have. I feel that we've displayed some really positive traits, and I feel that we have been growing, but overall results not good enough.
European campaign on the flip side, 1-5, lost 1, earned a quarter final at home. Was that the intention? There's been some questions over whether or not we would take it seriously, and obviously ahead of the Cardiff away game, got plenty of stick around, were we taking it seriously?
Yeah, look, the Cardiff away game was massive for me because we've trained hard throughout pre-season. The nature of the beast is it's difficult to get everyone into the playing squad. We've tried to target games this season and really go after them, and I was particularly annoyed actually with some of the media and the fans' responses to when I named that Cardiff team, because I think we were written off before we took the field, which is something that should never be levelled at the playing group here. I believe that was the right side to go and win on the day, and as it proved, we went there and we played a quality game, put Cardiff under pressure, and I think we deserved the win. The cup competition was always going to be the opportunity for us to test guys at a higher level, with some experience sprinkled into that. That's something that wasn't afforded to us last season. The cup competition last year was very much a damage limitation, and really trying to rotate the squads, and we were in a fight for survival. And this year I wanted to rotate the squad and give guys opportunities, and guys have stepped up and played, and our playing group has grown, and the quality of players coming through now playing in the Premiership, although we've had injuries, has been better. Our performances have been far grittier, barring a couple of really poor away performances where we kind of gone off script, but we've addressed those and tried and learn the lessons, and hopefully we won't have those blowouts down the line.
Talk about the away form. In terms of some early season promises you made, if you will, for want of a better word, you said that home form would improve. You're 3 out of 3 in Europe. You've won 4 games in the Prem at home. Do you feel like you've returned some respect back to playing at home, playing in front of home supporters?
Oh, I think we've returned respect to the badge. When we've been away, we've been in games, we've fought hard, and teams respect us. We played Saracens the weekend. We came away with nothing, and that was tough to take because I felt we deserved more. I think getting over the try and having a try disallowed, missing a couple of tackles that led to tries hurts you. But one thing I'm seeing in this playing group is that desire, that ability to hit people, to tackle, to defend, to work hard for each other. It wasn't there last year. It was more frustrating. So every time we play, I see more of what I think resembles Leicester Tiger players.
You mentioned it there in terms of the keywords, if you don't mind me sharing them, the ones you talked about at the start of the year, where that tough, hard work, passionate, if you will. Is that the squad you've built? Are you happy looking back that there are 3 ways in which the squad's perceived?
Yeah, I think so. When we play games now, people post-game, regardless of scoreline, will say, we know we've been in a game, we know we've been hit, that was a really tough encounter, and that's being driven by guys caring and guys being passionate. The unseen work when guys get up and do things that the fans don't always appreciate, that's what we needed to focus on, and that's what we needed to grow and build. And we've got some real star quality that when it's in our team have got the ability to score, but we needed some metal, we needed some steel, and that's what we're trying to grow.
Are you seeing the same traits in the guys here at Oval Park? Are you seeing it in appearances they make in the community? Are you seeing it in the individuals?
Yeah, I am. We do a lot of stuff in the community. Players go out. The feedback that I've been given from our players has been world class. In a way they handle themselves, in their humility and their respect when they do appearances. We've got some very good people. A good organisation needs good people. I believe we've got great people in this environment. So it's not just on the field, it's not just the 23 that are lucky enough to put on a Leicester Tigers shirt on the weekend. It's the guys who are in the squad, it's the guys who are behind the scenes, it's the staff, and it's everyone. It's tough. It's tough being here. We have very high expectations for ourselves, and we don't like it when we're where we are in the league. But to get up and come back at it on a Monday and to work as hard as the staff do here says something about us.
You talked about rotating the squad. You've handed out, or seen 21 players play for the first time, 5 blokes who have come up from the academy. Have you been afforded that opportunity with what's happened with Saracens, or was it always in the plan?
Since I took over, I believed that we needed to bring Leicester Tigers players through. I think the academy does a great job. We've won 3 academy titles on the row. For a young man at 17 or 18 to play in Leicester Tigers first team is tough, and ideally you wouldn't ever send out young kids without some armour around them, and that's what I've tried to do. I believe that's what we're about. I believe that's what the community is. Guys who've come through our ranks know what we're about, and they seem to give a little bit more. Now, we've recruited well in around that with some great guys from overseas who bring that steel, that armour. So it's about balancing and growing. It's a tough one because you want to have the basis of a homegrown team. You want to add some really good guys around that, and you want to grow people as well, but you want results. So it's a balancing act that sits on my plate.
Talk about recruitment. The biggest name in recruitment, despite some serious players coming in, is undoubtedly Steve Borthwick. In terms of clarity, you'll move into the Director of Rugby role. He'll become the head coach. What does that mean?
It's a relationship that we need to grow and develop. From my conversations with Steve so far, I'm very, very excited about it. We addressed a year ago that we needed a high quality coach to come in, help the forwards, oversee everything in regards to rugby, and that's what Steve Borthwick does at England. I've been very lucky to go down there and watch him, the way he leads sessions, and the way he clicks sessions together and implements his rugby programs is massively exciting. And I think we've got great coaches here, but I think that's going to add to it. We as a group are excited about him arriving in order to just add. And one of the best things about Leicester Tigers, in my respect, I suppose, is when I took over, the club said they were going to support me and they're going to help me and get the right people in the room, and they have done that. And that's what I feel, that we're on the right track. People like Steve coming in, we will add more experience if necessary, or more quality if necessary, until we get it right.
Without going into that too much, are you alluding to changes in the coaching staff?
There's always going to be changes at Leicester Tigers. That's the nature of it. The nature of the beast is that we want to perform better. We want to improve the players on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. The guys that we recruit have to want to get better, and as a coaching group, we have to want to get better. We've been doing that, and we're very lucky to work with some great coaches, but we'll always look to add quality. He's
a relatively private man. Doesn't say much, but when he speaks, it's straight to the point. What about the individual that's arriving away as a coach? What will Steve Borthwick have an impact, I guess? What impact does he bring?
He's incredibly organised in regards to everything he does. He's deeply analytical, so he will help out in regards to every situation. I think sometimes a fresh set of eyes from outside of the environment helps you. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, and I'm sure he'll bring a lot of fresh ideas and experience from his time with England and from working with one of the best in Eddie Jones.
You talked about, in terms of building your own relationship, have you been doing effectively 2 jobs?
Yeah, we've been busy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been busy. I think part for the course, and it's the nature of it, is that there's plenty to go around. One of the things about Steve arriving is that we'll share the load, and we'll have a lot of experience in the room. Steve will take a lead on those rugby areas, and I will positively encourage that and hopefully help him and question him when and where I can go. So yeah, it'll help me focus more on the areas that I think I'm good at.
You spent 5 years as an assistant coach in different roles. Was being a head coach what you expected?
Being a head coach is a lot tougher than I would have expected. And in fairness, I've been very lucky to work with great coaches throughout my playing career and my coaching career, guys who took me under their wing and gave me some great advice. It wasn't ever what I expected to be on my path or my career path. But sometimes you don't get to choose. Sometimes you're thrown into the deep end and it's a swim. Now, regardless if I've done a good job or not, I keep turning up and I keep trying to swim. So it's who I am.
What about the impact it has? You've talked a bit about the impact it has on your life. We've talked a lot about the impact it's had on your hairline and the colour of your hair. Seriously, what is the impact? What's the impact that nobody sees, nobody hears about, you're not going to whinge about?
You know, it's a privilege to coach Leicester Tigers. That's something that I always say. It's a privilege to play for Leicester Tigers. That's something that I want the guys to be part of. I'm very lucky to do what I do because it's an unbelievable thing. It's a dream job. But it's tough because getting up on a Monday after a loss is tough. Sometimes you want to throw the towel in, you don't want to get up when you're on the ground. You know, you read a lot of inspirational quotes and they're all about just keep getting back up. And that's the toughest thing because although I wasn't born in Leicester, I feel like an adopted son. And I know how much it means to people. My wife is from Leicestershire, her family are all from Leicestershire, all Tigers fans, and I know what it means to the fans, and they're the most important people in around it. So from my point of view, the disappointment in their eyes hurts me. When I walk out of the changing room post-game and I see the disappointment in people's faces, that hurts me. Yeah. But I've got to get on with it.
How have you grown in terms of maturing? You've obviously had some incidents in your time, but in terms of going from standing on a sideline talking to a fourth official, running water, sitting in a coach's box, even your time as a player, what maturing have you had to do?
You know, I think when I was standing on the sideline, I was always pretty aggressive and headstrong, and I think some of that had to do with having different head coaches in my ear on the earpiece encouraging me to behave like a moron, or be a pretty wild character in order to try and distract or aid our team in what ways we could. Sometimes that red character comes back out in me, as we saw a couple of times over the course of the last couple of years. One particularly disappointing incident with a referee and another short spat with a fan. It's a tough one because I feel like I've grown. I feel like I've learned coping strategies and I've learned how to keep myself calmer. I'm passionate. Don't think anyone could ever question my passion, and sometimes that boils over the top. So I have to apologise. I know when to apologise, but I don't think I want that to ever not be me either.
How's Mrs. Murphy dealt with the change and your family? I would assume your boys aren't old enough to really understand just yet.
2 young kids. The youngest one has no idea.
Which is probably nice.
Which is really nice because he likes me regardless.
Yeah.
The older one, who's knocking on 5, gets it. He's got some favourite players and he's enjoying coming to the rugby, and he knows that Daddy goes to work to help the boys get better. That's what he tells me on a daily basis when I leave the house. Toughest is probably on Mrs. Murphy because the husband who was able to come home at reasonable hours so she could have a life now comes through the door with a foul head on. A lot of the times she's waiting and dealing with 2 young kids. So it's toughest on, I think, you know, it's always toughest on the partners because, you know, it's all great when things are going well, but when things are tough, you don't always get the joy and the sweetness and light that you were used to, or the person that you're used to. So it's a particularly tough challenge for the partners, I would say.
Looking ahead to next year, which you've got the guarantee of, which is a bit of a weird situation to be in the Premiership, to know you're not going to be relegated, whether or not you're first or last. Some big signings, Nemani Nandolo, Kyle Brink, and some other guys to come in. I'm not going to attempt to say our Georgian recruit's name.
Shava.
I'll have a crack at it.
It's like Neffy.
Yeah.
Nephi and Nephi. Yeah.
We've just found out 6 months on.
No, it'll do.
Are you starting, or are we starting to see a Geordan Murphy squad?
Yeah, look, it was always going to take a little bit of a time to get it together. Players' contracts lengths can go from 1 year to 5 years. Something that I wanted to get into the guys was, you know, we were going to train harder, we were going to work harder, we were going to be tougher to play against, and we were going to play the way we wanted to play and pose ourselves on the opposition. We've done that in parts over the course of the season, and we'll grow and we're going to continue to get better. I think we're definitely a much better side than we are, and far better place than we were this time last year. The fact that we can't get relegated does take the pressure off to a certain extent, and enables us to give opportunities to players and younger players when the time is right to grow and develop, and just to see where some of those guys are going to be at, and are they going to be good enough, which potentially last season we wouldn't have done. In saying that, having had a long pre-season, I feel that we're better equipped with guys knowing the game plan and being fit enough to compete in the Premiership. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. I'm confident that we're growing, developing. We've started from a really tough spot last season. We did well to survive. This season we'll grow, we'll build, we'll be better, and hopefully going forward with the people we can add, Steve included, we'll be on the right track.
You've obviously renewed some contracts as well. We've heard what you think about the additions or the renewals. You're obviously in conversations now at this point too, which is the awkward part of letting guys know that they won't be renewed or letting guys know that they'll leave the club. How does that sit with you?
It's a tough one. The toughest thing I've had to do is let guys go, particularly guys who care and really want to be part of the Leicester Tigers journey. And it's done for different reasons. And in an ideal world, we would never let anyone go. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Something from a young coach / director of rugby is something that you don't really have a huge amount of training in. And I think first few times I've done it, and 100% I've got things wrong. Not for any reason other than I'm trying to do them right. But the experience will stay with me, and I can get better at a lot of things, and certainly how we exit people is one of those.
And then obviously there'll be more additions to the group.
Yeah, look, we're always going to recruit when and where we can. We're trying to be very smart with the people that we bring in and the areas that we want to add. So that's a moving piece, but the guys that we're bringing in, we're hopefully bringing them in for the right reasons.
There've been plenty of criticism surrounding the recruitment in the last 4 or 5 years. You can throw your hands up and say, not my problem, wasn't me. But you've got to own it now. You've got the addition of Jan McGinnity. Jed Glynn's moved into a different role at the club, but remains an integral part of the development pathway. Is that trio of you three working?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you say, you can throw your hands up and wash your hands and say it's not my fault. Something that I'm conscious never to do because I was at the club. So some of the ways we have recruited and some of the people we've recruited haven't been bad people, and that's I think the major fault and the thing that I get levelled at me on a daily basis. Why have we signed X, or why here? I think the nature of having some consistency in a director of rugby or a head coach role is that we can play a certain way that we want to. I think where we went wrong was chopping and changing, and when we chopped and changed at the top, it changed the way we played and the way we recruited, and that hurt us. Part of what the club has identified is that we need to be on the same page, we need to be singing from the same hymn sheet, we need to sort of start pushing in the same direction, and that's what we've done. So as you say, it's about getting it right and moving forward.
According to Triangle, has Steve had any input?
Yeah, Steve obviously is currently employed by the RFU, so we've had conversations and we've tried to have meetings on down days when he's not been around, but Jan's been doing a real good job in around recruitment. Jed, as you said, has moved across slightly, but 3 academy wins in a row. The quality of young men that we're bringing through is exceptional. So that group of people working together has been going well.
Appreciate it's not the easiest of questions to answer, but you or the clubs received criticism as well in the same period around whether or not the boardroom, whether or not the former rugby committee, whatever it was, have supported the head coach, have supported the director of rugby. We've got some nice new change rooms at Oval Park. You've been resourced out. You've obviously got Steve. You've got players you went after. Have you had that support?
Yeah, I feel like I've been supported.
Yeah.
And it's been a really tough time. When I took over, I didn't anticipate how tough it was going to be, and I didn't anticipate how tough last season was going to be. And I think in their actions and in their words, they've supported me massively. I know from outside of the club that there's been criticism leveled there, and people want to point fingers and people want to blame everyone that isn't themselves, something that I don't ever want to do. From my personal point of view, the club have been on the right track and trying to get things right. Part and parcel of that was realising, okay, we don't deserve to win. I think for a very long time we just expected to win because we were Leicester Tigers, and unfortunately that's not the way the world works. Teams were recruiting quality of players, and coaching and training facilities around the Premiership were raising a level, and really we got caught cold. Part for what we needed to do was accept that and go, okay, well, how are we going to grow? How are we going to build? How are we going to start again in order to be successful down the line? And the board have been great with me in regards to that.
We started at looking back. If we finish at looking forward, what is success for you? What will you deem as a pass mark for the season in this season's premiership? And putting aside the cliche that we don't want to be the club who forever can be said that you only survived because Saracens went down. We know that answer. What's a success for you?
Yeah. World Cup year is always going to be difficult. It was going to be tough. I predicted at the start of the year. I felt that our pre-season we improved in a lot of areas, and we had a tough start to the Premiership just after the World Cup with a lot of bodies away, some late additions in Lavanini and Tafua. Got a little bit of a run going in around Christmas, particular disappointment, a home loss to Exeter. But barring that, I felt we'd got what we deserved out of a lot of games. Again, the Six Nation goes and we lose some key players and some injuries have hurt us. But from this day forward, I'm hugely excited about what we can do in the Premiership. I've seen huge progress in the performances over the course of the season. We've taken some big lessons and we've been knocked down a few times, particularly in big away games, but we've got back up and we've got ourselves back on track. Some gritty wins, not by huge margins, but just by staying in it and fighting for each other, have set us up to be in good stead. We need to keep improving. That's the core for us. I think we can get too blinded by results, and the nature of the Premiership this year is that teams are beating each other. It's very, very tight in the middle. And the reality is 1 or 2 wins could find you top half of the table. Would I take 1 or 2 wins this season to have us middle of the table if performances were decreasing? No. We need to keep growing. We need to keep being better. And we need to be tougher. I think it's the start of a journey. It has been the start of a journey. We're on a path. It's early in the path. But my aspirations for Leicester Tigers are for this playing group to have the successes I had as a player. It doesn't come easy. It doesn't happen instantaneously. But with a lot of hard work, we'll get there.
With all that in mind, with the squad rotation element, there's a lot of criticism levelled at you in terms of whether or not we actually go out to win games at times. I know you're not saying that in particular, but to put it to bed, for anyone that knows you, every game, do we go out to win?
I hate losing. It hurts me more than anything. I think for an average fan who's in the pub can watch a game and say, oh, Leicester Tigers were terrible, and have a couple of beers, go home and slag the coach off. I don't mind that. It sits with me for a week, if not longer. So no, I don't ever want a Leicester Tigers team to go out and lose. I'm trying to set out teams to win. We are, yes, giving guys opportunities on occasion. Again, as I said earlier, we're always trying to blend that in with a little bit of experience around it. But no, we're never sending a Tigers team out to lose.
There's some suggestions as well that you just read off the same script post-match when you speak to the media. Is that fair? Or is it genuine, honest appraisal where you do sometimes, you're going to repeat yourself, but...
I think it's where we're at.
Yeah.
I have never read a script post-game. Sometimes I need to calm myself down because I can be a little bit too emotional post-game, and I have to remember not to swear because sometimes I want to punch the wall, and it's one of the toughest places that you'll ever go. Yeah. As I said, being as hurt as I feel, getting a camera and a microphone shoved in your face post-game is an experience that few people will have to manage. But it's important to say the right things. It's important to remain humble and respectful, which isn't always easy, particularly when I feel we've thrown games away, or I feel that there are extenuating factors in the games that have cost us. But I've learned the lesson from saying things publicly. So post-match interviews sometimes can be a little bit straight battish, I would say. But a lot of what I do is straight battish because you can't always say what you think.
Yes or no? On this journey, are we going the right direction?
Yes.
Thank you.